Hey chosen ones, pause for a moment. This message is for you. Ever wondered why your relationship with your mom felt like a battlefield? It wasn't random. It was divine. God allowed that emotional distance not to break you, but to build you. That pain, it was preparation. You weren't meant to be ordinary or tied down by toxic bonds. You were set apart, sharpened in the fire of rejection, and strengthened through isolation. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment with God's purpose. He removed earthly comfort so you could rise into spiritual power. Your calling demands this strength. Now is the time to stop questioning and start rising. You're not broken, you're chosen. So here's the call. Step into your divine identity. Connect with others who get it. Your pain wasn't in vain. It was your launch pad. Don't miss your moment. At times, life feels like you're standing on the edge of a vast river, gazing across to a place where others seem to enjoy the warmth of familial love. You yearn to cross, yet the deep waters weigh you down, filling your heart with a profound sense of solitude. This feeling of separation, especially from your mother, can seem like an uncrossable divide, leading you to question, where do I truly belong? What is my worth? Does God really see me? But take a moment to pause and listen. This sense of isolation isn't a sign of abandonment. It is part of a divine plan, a sacred space created by God to reshape you, free from the constraints of earthly ties. It is in this space that you will discover your true purpose and embrace your destiny as one of the chosen. The emptiness you felt is not a random mistake. It is the refining fire of your spiritual journey, a trial set by God to forge your soul. Picture a precious gem polished through intense pressure and heat. This separation from your mother, though painful, is that very process of refinement. God did not distance you from her to deny you love, but to guide you toward a deeper love, one that surpasses anything the world can offer. In those quiet moments when you yearned for closeness but found only distance, God was speaking to you with clarity and strength, drawing you into His divine calling, unclouded by the distractions of everyday life. You were not created to blend into the crowd. Your path, even from childhood, was destined to be unique. Recall those early days when you saw other children nestled in their mother's arms, comforted by tender love. Perhaps you stood alone, questioning why you felt the sting of isolation. But that solitude was not weakness. It was the foundation for building inner strength. Like a warrior trained in the depths of a forest, stripped of all comforts, you learned to stand firm with only faith in God. Consider a lone mountaineer facing steep cliffs without aid. Each step teaches resilience. The separation you've wrestled with is your spiritual forge, where God is shaping you for a finding purpose far greater than you can imagine. God sees the longing for love in your heart, the fleeting envy when you witness the warm mother-child bonds of others. But that void was never meant to be filled by human affection. It is part of a divine intention, a space for you to discover God's perfect eternal love. He needed you to be free, unbound by earthly ties, for your mission transcends ordinary relationships. Your divine calling demands a different kind of strength, one not reliant on constant encouragement or maternal warmth, but sustained by the boundless, unshakable love of God. His unseen hand has been molding you through every challenge, every moment of loneliness, to become the vessel He needs for His grand plan. Picture the world as a spiritual battlefield, where you are a warrior forged in isolation to face battles you may not yet recognize. While others sought solace in their mothers, God taught you to fight alone. In the stillness of your solitude, you found Him. In the emptiness left by the absence of a mother's love, you uncovered a love that never fades, a love flawless and everlasting. God's love. This isolation is not punishment, but a gift of emotional healing, a path to realizing you don't need worldly validation to be whole. You've been forged into a spiritual warrior, ready for the challenges ahead, with a heart strengthened by God's plan. But what makes this separation an essential part of your journey? How do the wounds of your past become the foundation for your future strength? At the close of the last reflection, we asked, what makes this separation an essential part of your journey? How do the wounds of your past become the foundation for your future strength? Picture yourself as a rough stone, unpolished and heavy, carried to a sculptor's workshop. The chisel strikes, each blow painful yet precise, chipping away what is unnecessary to reveal the masterpiece within. Your survival through the seeming void of separation from your mother has been this very process. A spiritual journey that has forged in you an inner strength others cannot fathom. A resilience that sets you apart as a chosen one. This distance, though it felt like a burden, was never a punishment. It was your training ground, a sacred forge where God has shaped you for a divine calling that transcends the ordinary. Every moment of emotional distance, every strained conversation or unspoken coldness was an intentional stroke of God's chisel, carving you into the vessel He needs for His work. The weight of isolation may have seemed unbearable, like a load too heavy to lift. But in God's wisdom, that burden was designed to become the wings that elevate you to new heights. Consider a young eagle, pushed from the nest to learn to soar. Its struggle is not rejection, but preparation for flight. Through this God's plan, earthly comforts, such as the warmth of a mother's approval, were set aside to grant you a finding purpose that is pure and untainted by the world's fleeting definitions of love. What you perceived as absence was, in truth, God's presence, an invitation to step into the fullness of your chosen one destiny. This separation was no accident. The emotional and relational rift with your mother, marked by conflicts, sharp words, or manipulative silences, was a deliberate act, a signal that you are set apart for something extraordinary. It may have felt like abandonment, but what you endured was the heat of God's refining fire, a process of emotional healing that stripped away the parts of you not meant to remain. Each argument, each cutting remark, was a hammer striking stone, teaching you to stand firm. For example, recall a moment when a harsh word from your mother left you reeling, questioning your worth. In that pain, you were not merely wounded, you were sharpened, equipped with an armor others lack. These were not random hardships but cosmic clashes, battles between the person you are called to become and the limitations the world would impose. Through these scars, you've gained a strength that allows you to weather life's storms where others might falter. Why, you may ask, was your relationship with your mother marked by such pain? The answer is both simple and profound. God never intended for you to anchor your identity in her. Her presence with its challenges, perhaps rooted in her own unresolved wounds or jealousy, was not meant to define you but to reveal the insufficiency of earthly relationships. Each time you sought her validation and found none, God was training you to seek your worth in Him alone. Imagine a tree growing on a rocky cliff, its roots forced to dig deeper for nourishment. Your struggles have driven your roots into the unshakable foundation of God's love. Your value does not come from family or worldly approval, but from your Creator, who has ensured you know this truth at your core. This separation is not a mark of failure, but a badge of your calling. While others remain bound by toxic family ties, entangled in expectations and unhealthy dynamics, you have been granted freedom to walk a different path. The emotional distance you felt is not merely a painful reality, it is proof that you are set apart for a divine purpose few can comprehend. Every tear, every wound, every lonely moment has been part of God's preparation for a destiny that shines beyond the ordinary. You are not limited by family constraints. You are a chosen one, forged in the fires of separation to rise above and embrace your greatness. As you stand firm in this truth, You begin to see your scars, not as burdens, but as testimonies of God's transformative power, guiding you toward a future radiant with purpose. But how does this divine preparation translate into the battles you face daily? What role do these struggles play in aligning you with God's ultimate vision for your life? Have you ever sat in the quiet of your room, replaying moments of tension with your mother, her sharp words, her distant gaze, or the silence that stung more than any argument? These wounds may feel like barriers to your spiritual journey. But what if they are the very tools God is using to carve out your chosen one destiny? The separation you've endured, far from being a random fracture, is a sacred divide, woven into the fabric of God's plan and affirmed by Scripture. In Luke 12:51-53, Jesus boldly proclaimed that he came not to bring peace, but a sword. A divine calling that cuts through the ordinary, splitting you from earthly ties to propel you toward an extraordinary purpose. This division within your family, especially with your mother, is not a mere clash of personalities or a failure of connection. It is a holy wedge, deliberately placed by God to free you from the weight of familial expectations that cannot contain your finding purpose. The emotional rift, perhaps her criticism that echoed in your mind, her jealousy that clouded your confidence, or her inability to see your path, is a testament to your unique calling. It is not a mark of defeat, but a badge of honor, signifying that you are set apart for a mission that transcends human bonds. Reflect on Jesus himself, who faced misunderstanding from his own parents in Luke 2:48-49, when they could not comprehend his devotion to his Father's work. Like him, you are called to step beyond the comfort of family approval, to walk a path that may seem strange or even wrong to your mother. This disconnection is not a flaw in your story, but a cornerstone of God's plan, designed to sharpen you for the divine calling ahead. The family, often idealized as a haven of love, can also be a crucible of challenge. Your mother's struggles, her unresolved pain, her critical words, or her emotional distance were not meant to diminish you. They were the anvil on which God forged your inner strength, hammering you into a warrior capable of enduring life's fiercest storms. Picture a sculptor chiseling away at rough stone. Each moment of conflict, each pang of rejection, was a precise strike, shaping you into the vessel God needs for his work. Her disapproval, her inability to grasp the heights of your calling, does not define your worth. Instead, it serves as a catalyst, pushing you to root your identity in God alone, ensuring your spiritual journey is anchored in divine truth rather than human validation. You were not chosen for a path of ease. Like Jesus, who bore the pain of being misunderstood by those closest to him, you are called to a divine calling that often creates a chasm between you and those you love. This chasm is not an accident. It is the sacred space where God's voice resonates with clarity, where his purpose for you becomes undeniable. In this space, you are liberated from the chains of human expectations, free to embrace the greatness God has destined for you. Every tear shed, every moment of heartache, has been a step toward the warrior you are becoming, a soul fortified by emotional healing and empowered by God's plan to rise above earthly wounds. How can you embrace this divine divide as a source of strength? What steps can you take to transform the pain of separation into the fuel for your sacred mission? You find yourself walking down a narrow trail, surrounded by the deep shadows of a forest, with only a faint flicker of light in your heart to guide you. You once believed your mother would be the one holding the torch, lighting the way through life's journey, but instead, you felt her absence, an empty space filled with heartache and unanswered questions. Why is this separation such an important part of your spiritual journey? It is precisely in the absence of a mother's love that you are drawn closer to God, where you discover your true divine calling. This is not abandonment, but a crucial piece of God's plan. a sacred design that shows He is the source of everything your soul longs for. When the love and support you expected from your mother fell short, perhaps in the form of comforting words never spoken or coldness instead of embrace, you were not left alone in the dark. Instead, God stepped in to fill those gaps, not merely as temporary solace, but as a profound intention to shape your chosen one destiny. Every unmet emotional need, every moment of loneliness, became a powerful force, drawing you closer to Him. Imagine a ship lost at sea, guided by a storm to a safe harbor. The absence of your mother is that storm, leading you to the harbor of God's love. God does not simply replace what you lack. He is the original source of the love, security, and meaning you seek. While an earthly mother may offer fleeting nurture, God provides a love that is boundless, unshakable, and perfectly complete. Picture a small stream compared to a vast ocean. A mother's love, however precious, is but a stream, while God's love is an infinite ocean, ever ready to envelop you. The separation you feel is not punishment or oversight. It is God's deliberate act, clearing away worldly distractions so you can fully rely on His strength and protection. What you once perceived as emotional neglect from your mother, those times you craved praise but received silence, or moments you needed guidance but found only distance, is in truth the sacred space where God's presence takes root and grows stronger. Consider a seed planted in arid soil, forced to stretch its roots deeper to find water. The absence of your mother has compelled you to seek deeper nourishment from God. He does not merely meet your needs, He surpasses them, transforming your wounds into a foundation for emotional healing and inner strength. Through this separation, you've learned to stand firm, not on human love, but on divine love, a love that never fails. So how do you transform these voids into the strength to walk the path God has laid before you? Are you ready to embrace His love as the torch that lights your finding purpose? A young sapling struggles to grow in arid, cracked soil, far from the nurturing shade of a larger tree. Its roots extend deep, not drawing sustenance from the surface, but seeking the hidden springs below. In the same way, the wounds from your separation, those moments of longing, silence, or misunderstanding, have pushed your roots deeper, not toward earthly ties, but toward the eternal source of God's plan. The question arises on your spiritual journey. How do these wounds form the foundation of your future strength? The answer lies in the sacred space of separation, where God's presence in your life becomes undeniable, shaping you into the chosen one you were always meant to be. The world may insist that the bond between parent and child is sacred and unbreakable, but God, in His infinite wisdom, has chosen to reshape this mold for you. While others cling to the comfort of earthly relationships, God has gently loosened those ties, ensuring that your heart anchors solely in Him. This divine calling requires an unshakable dependence on the Creator, undiluted by the imperfections of human love. Every tear you've shed, every moment of silence from your mother, has been a chisel in God's hands, carving inner strength from a wellspring that never runs dry. Consider a potter molding clay. The pressure and heat are not meant to break the vessel, but to make it enduring. Your mother's limitations, her inability to meet your emotional or spiritual needs, were never a reflection of your worth, but a divine signal that your deepest needs were meant to be fulfilled by your Heavenly Father. God did not design you to rely on fleeting human affection, for He knew that no mortal could offer the perfect love, guidance, and protection He provides. The separation you felt is not a void, but an invitation, a call to lean fully into Him, to find in Him the fulfillment of every longing. Imagine a weary traveler discovering an oasis after wandering a desert. In the absence of your mother's love, God has been waiting to quench your soul with His boundless grace. As the emotional distance from your earthly mother grew, your connection to your Creator deepened. Through every pang of confusion or pain, He has been drawing you closer, revealing himself as the firm foundation of your finding purpose, the eternal source of strength no human relationship could match. Yet, within this divine separation lies a sacred command. You are called to honor your mother, not because of her actions or the pain you've endured, but because of who you are, a chosen one destined for greatness. This instruction, rooted in Deuteronomy 5:16, is not contingent on her worthiness, but on your obedience to God's word. Honoring her is an act of spiritual defiance, a choice to rise above hurt and embrace emotional healing through grace. It's not about erasing the scars or ignoring the distance forged by God's plan. Instead, it's about recognizing your identity and purpose, standing firm in the strength God has built within you. Like a warrior polishing their armor before battle, honoring your mother prepares you for the challenges ahead, aligning your heart with the divine mission you've been given. What does it mean to honor someone who has caused you pain? And how does this act of obedience transform your wounds into a testament of divine strength? You stand at a crossroads, the weight of past wounds pressing against your heart, whispering memories of pain and distance with your mother. How do these wounds, these moments of separation, become the foundation for your future strength? The answer lies in a transformative step in your spiritual journey. Honoring your mother, not to erase the scars or deny the emotional divide, but to rise above it, stepping boldly into the divine calling that sets you apart. This act is not about submitting to her flaws or excusing the hurt. It is about choosing forgiveness and healing, allowing grace to flourish where bitterness once threatened to take root, and aligning yourself with God's plan for your life. To honor your mother is to acknowledge her role in your story, however imperfect. Perhaps she was a source of criticism, misunderstanding, or emotional distance, yet her presence, flawed as it was, helped shape the resilient spirit you carry today. Imagine a sculptor chiseling a rough stone. The cuts may be painful, but they reveal the masterpiece within. Honoring her means refusing to let resentment define you, choosing instead to reflect the inner strength God has forged in you. This is not about her worthiness or your obligation to fix a broken bond. It is about your freedom to live according to the standards God has set, to walk the path of a chosen one destiny unburdened by the chains of unforgiveness. This act of honoring is a cornerstone of your spiritual growth. It demands that you face the raw edges of your pain, not to surrender, but to triumph. Consider a warrior who, after surviving a fierce battle, chooses to lay down the weight of vengeance to embrace peace. Forgiving your mother, even when she may not deserve it, is not for her benefit, but for yours. It is a necessary step in emotional healing, breaking the shackles of bitterness that could hinder your progress. By choosing forgiveness, you open the door to the blessings God has prepared, blessings that flow only when your heart is free from resentment. As Deuteronomy 5:16 commands, honoring your mother is not contingent on her actions, but on your obedience to God's will, a will that calls you to rise higher. Your divine calling requires more than the world demands. It asks you to declare allegiance to God's word, even when it costs you emotionally. Honoring your mother in the midst of division is not about appeasing her or meeting societal expectations. It is about embodying the person God has called you to be, a chosen one, set apart for a purpose that transcends earthly ties. The separation you've endured, the pain of distance, is not a punishment, but a crucible, a refining fire designed to burn away what is unnecessary. Like metal hammered in a forge, you are being shaped into a vessel strong enough to carry God's mission. This spiritual journey strips away old comforts, silencing the voices of the past so you can hear God's voice clearly. You are not like others, content with the ordinary. God has called you to an extraordinary finding purpose, and this separation is His method of pruning your life for greater fruitfulness. The loneliness you felt is not rejection, but a sacred ground of transformation, where God's hands work most powerfully. Every moment of distance, every severed tie, is a deliberate act to set you apart for a higher task. Just as a tree is pruned to grow stronger, your relationships, once limiting, are being reshaped to serve the God's plan unfolding in your life. You are being promoted to a calling that demands resilience, focus, and an unwavering dependence on Him. Do not fear this separation. It is not failure but a confirmation of your chosen one destiny. Every wound, every moment of isolation, is God chiseling away the excess, crafting you into a warrior ready for the battles ahead. You were never meant to be confined by relationships that cannot grasp the magnitude of your purpose. Now is the time to embrace this truth. Your struggles are not in vain, but a testimony to the work God is doing within you. Step forward with courage, knowing you are defined not by past pain, but by the divine calling that marks your life. How will you carry this strength into the next chapter of your journey, sharing your story to inspire others? As you stand at the threshold of your spiritual journey, reflecting on the wounds that have shaped you and the strength that has emerged, know that you are not alone. Thank you for opening your heart to this sacred truth, that every moment of separation, every act of forgiveness, is a brushstroke in the masterpiece God is crafting within you. Your willingness to face the pain and rise above it is a testament to the inner strength He has instilled in you, a strength that shines as a beacon for others on their own chosen one destiny. May you walk forward with unwavering faith, carrying the light of God's plan in your heart, and may your path be filled with the peace that comes from trusting His divine purpose. Your story, forged in the crucible of separation and elevated through forgiveness, is not a tale of loss but a powerful testimony of finding purpose. You are a chosen one, set apart to fulfill an extraordinary divine calling that transcends earthly ties. This is your moment to embrace the truth. Your struggles are not in vain, but a sacred preparation for greatness. Step boldly into your destiny, knowing that emotional healing and spiritual growth are yours to claim. Share your journey by leaving a comment below, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this video with others who need to hear this message. Your story can inspire countless souls to embrace their own divine calling. What legacy will you create with the strength God has given you?